and as much as I kid UPS, it is very important to have UPS there and the contract that they have, because that's where we pull from. That's what sets the bar. That's what gives us the argument that it's reasonable to put it in another contract. And slowly, I pulled a lot of UPS language out and put it in some contracts, and that's what allows us to do that. So, it's awesome that we have that, and the UPS wages, UPS pension, we're all pushing to get there, and we're getting closer, in some of these white paper contracts, we're starting to get to the point. I know we have some contracts that guys have $2 an hour in their pension. And the mentality of the kids coming into the workforce now, they want money in their pocket.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're not thinking, look, I'm 56. Now you got to start looking, when I got to retire, how much money do I have there to do it? Now it's, you have diversion language. Well, it's almost impossible to get members now to vote in. You get a big chunk, a raise in the beginning. And to get the new guys to vote to divert some of that to pension, they're not thinking about 30 years from now. They're thinking about today and the new car they want to go home and buy. So
I get you.
So ultimately, that's the goal. And it's important to be able to have that UPS contract to look at. And when UPS covers almost any situation that could come up, and it's over hundreds of years of bargaining, right? Or however long they've been bargaining it. That's how you get into a contract, kind of like the master freight agreement, right? So, some of these contracts are new. They're only 5 years old. They're first, second contracts. So you want to try to get as much of that in there as you can so you can build on it and make it closer, right?
This podcast may contain views and opinions which are those of the hosts and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any local agency, organization, union, employee, or company, including the podcast.
Hey, everybody out there. Thanks for watching and tuning in again. We're back with Off the Clock Shop Talk. As you can see, it's a little different today. I got myself and Gary and my nemesis here. But we have a special guest today. We're officially in football season. As you can see, I specifically put that there for John. Go Raiders.
It's funny because you said, as you can see, and I can't see it.
Okay, well, George, you need to add that in there. But hey, let's get down to it. We want to bring on a special guest here. He's been here before. He is our president of Locals 952, John Green. How you doing, John?
I'm doing good. First of all, I'm going to make a statement here real quick.
Oh, no. John, you can't do that, buddy.
Okay, all right. I'll be nice this time, but I'm a Cowboys fan.
But I do expect that in football season. I mean, everybody kind of gets into their own directions. It gets a little violent during football season. But and I know you're a Cowboys fan, and so is John. So I think John would appreciate that.
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, everybody thinks at this point in the season that their team's going to the Super Bowl, right? So,
yeah.
And nobody can say they aren't because we haven't started playing yet.
Well, I think we got one thing we can agree on right here. The Angels.
Yes, we can agree on the Angels.
We can agree on the Angels, right?
Here pretty soon. So
Gary, are you a Dodger fan, Gary?
No.
Oh.
Neither.
Neither?
Nope. I'm an Orioles fan.
You're an Orioles fan.
Oh, my God.
Oh, I thought
I'm
you were
from the East Coast, so I mean.
Okay, all right. I got you. Well, I thought you were going to say something like lacrosse or something. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Nah.
Yeah.
I go to Chess Masters.
Yeah. But, hey, we appreciate you guys tuning in again. We wanted to kind of just get right into it, and I wanted to kind of discuss with you, John. I know that you've been bargaining a shit ton of contracts. Right now, you're in the middle of Albertsons, right? Or beginning, I should say, of negotiating that contract. But can you just give us a touch on some of the contracts that you've bargained in the last 3-4 months? I know there's been quite a few.
Yeah, gosh, I mean, obviously the big one was CVS. Gary was in there for that. Turned out to be a really, really good contract. SciTech, we negotiated that. First Student, we've got that done. Gosh, right now they're currently working on the OCTA Mechanics, which is the same group that we did the strike for a couple years ago. So, yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot of contracts, and we're there with the committees fighting every day and trying to get the best we can.
Yeah, the committee that you have for Albertsons is pretty big.
Very big.
Very big, right?
Yeah, it's we got 17, 18 stewards in there while we're negotiating, and I got to commend them. To be honest with you, I'm really proud of how they've handled themselves. When you get big committees, obviously you could have people on these committees that think more about themselves or what our negotiations are going to do for ourselves versus the group as a whole.
Right.
So, and obviously I'm co-chairing the negotiations with Eric, and we have Miguel and James Lopez in there. And this committee has really been together, and they've been in agreement, and because of that, I believe so far it's going pretty well, but we're at the early stages, so
yeah, you guys started you guys started pretty early. I mean, it's not even, it doesn't even end till when?
September 21st, so it's not
okay,
that far out.
All right, so it's pretty
but
close.
Yeah, you're right. We did start a little earlier. We started earlier with the mindset that we want to get it done prior to the expiration of the agreement. Right.
And how many members does that cover?
Gosh, Albertsons between Irvine and Brea is somewhere between 1,700 and 2,000.
Pretty big group.
Damn.
That's
a lot.
There's 8 contracts.
Oh, there's 8 contracts.
8 contracts just for Albertsons. So, that's the other fluctuating part of it.
I didn't even know that. I didn't know. So are you bargaining all of that at once?
Yes.
Wow. Was that something that was done prior?
Yes.
And so it's always been that way.
It's been that way with the number of 8 contracts, I believe, since the Lucky's Albertsons merge.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's a lot to cover.
Yeah, it's a lot to cover. And when you negotiate the language into it, you got to make sure that language fits properly in all 8 contracts. Right. So if you negotiate a benefit that everybody is going to have, then you've got to make sure it fits in all 8 contracts. And that could be challenging too.
I would imagine with not just economics, but discipline, better language.
It's different in all the contracts.
It's different.
Yeah.
That's
And luckily over the last negotiations, because this is our second time around for Albertsons, and we changed a lot of language last time, and we are doing what we can to bring parity, right, to make sure the language is, kind of the same. The problem you have is between the old Albertsons contracts, which are mainly in Brea, and the Irvine contracts, which were Lucky's, they were so different that the discipline was different. The buckets of discipline are different. Your engineered work standards are different. They're, up in the driver's agreements are completely different, right? So, we're chipping away at trying to bring it to where they're the same, to where eventually you could merge them into one contract, right? But the company's not going to give some things that are real beneficial to the membership in one contract and just give it to the other ones without trying to get something for it, right? So, and that's bargaining. But, we are working to get there. Like I say, I'm proud that the committee has been they've been great. And bargaining, if you haven't been in bargaining before, somebody new to bargaining could get very bored very quick because there's a lot of time in between the time that you're at the table, and so you got to sit there and try to figure out what your counters are, and get everybody to agree that we're going to move this way, right?
Right.
But they're doing real well. It's going real good so far, and we'll see where we end up.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I'm not too familiar with bargaining. I've sat back and watched you, Frank. I'm now, like you said, Eric sitting there, and I know that for me, when I sit back, I see the tremendous amount of work it is, and then having 18 stewards on the floor, it kind of blows me away because I think a lot of people have this this interpretation or this thought of you go in there and you just motherfuck the company and you get everything you want.
Yeah.
And it just I know it doesn't work that way. And without giving out any, I don't know what we could speak about or what we can't. Obviously, we don't want to give everything away, but
No secrets.
is there anything that you, John, can tell us that was one of the biggest concerns that Albertsons, our members wanted? Besides, I would say it would be economics. Everybody wants more money, but is there something that you could share that you think that was something that our membership really wanted, or is that something we wanted?
Yeah, I'm going to hold off on it.
Yeah.
And Sabas, to your point, there's 8 contracts.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that there is something more important to each group and each contract that may not be the most important thing to somebody else in another contract, right? So, we had our proposal meetings. We sent out our surveys. We did all that. And with this committee, which is a large committee, compiled our proposals to send across. And ultimately, it's I don't want to say what's the most important to one person because something could be more important to me and you could be like, well, I don't care about that. That never affects me. This is what I want. You know what I mean? And part of it, to your point, is that's why it's so hard to have such a big committee, because I'll guarantee you there's something more important to everybody in that committee than to somebody else on the committee, right? And that's where you have to work to try to keep everybody on the same page, be fair. And what everybody has to realize is when we're bargaining a contract, we need to bargain because you're there as a steward, as a representative of people that voted you in, and us as the chairs and the representatives from the local. You need to think about the group as a whole and bettering everything in the whole, right? You need to try to limit any takeaways, right? CVS, we virtually had no takeaways. And you want to get as much money as you can. You want to maintain your health and welfare, and you want to improve the language where you can. And if you are able to do all that, then you will have a successful contract.
Right on. Is now that CVS is over, Gary, what was the biggest thing that for you?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, that's a tough one because we got a lot out of it. But I think the biggest thing for me was probably the contract language itself. Obviously, the money.
Right.
The money is always going to be the biggest issue, which we did get the money. It was pretty good, pretty fantastic deal, actually. But, yeah, like I said, as a shop steward, too, my biggest thing was always the contract language not going away. What we already had in the contract that's really good, that benefits us and the membership. I mean, that was probably, in my opinion, bigger than the money. Just because I know how that contract works, and it's been super beneficial. And then, yeah, obviously wages. I mean, I don't know how we pulled it off, but $3 front load. I mean,
that's
I could thank this man right here. I know he had a big hand in it too.
Yeah, I mean, we all did. It was it was a committee, right? And one of the things that I was real happy about for you guys is you getting your 152nd vacations, right? Mm-hmm. That's a big deal. My whole career in the Teamsters, I've had that. And you look when you go negotiate some of these contracts and you go through them and scrub them before you get there, and you'll be like, man, they don't have that. You know? Kind of like we used to say, like our last podcast, I tease the UPS and the brown bubble, but, it's the same thing. It's important to know that not everybody has what we have.
right.
And it's a process in bargaining and getting there to do it. And as much as I kid UPS, is it is very important to have UPS there and the contract that they have, because that's where we pull from. That's
Right.
what sets the bar. That's what gives us the argument that it's reasonable to put it in another contract. And slowly, I pulled a lot of UPS language out and put it in some contracts, and that's what allows us to do that. So, it's awesome that we have that, and the UPS wages, UPS pension, we're all pushing to get there, and we're getting closer, in some of these white paper contracts, we're starting to get to the point. I know we have some contracts that guys had $2 an hour in their pension. And the mentality of the kids coming into the workforce now, they want money in their pocket.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're not thinking, look, I'm 56. Now you got to start looking, when I got to retire, how much money do I have there to do it? Now it's, you have diversion language. Well, it's almost impossible to get members now to vote in. You get a big chunk of raise in the beginning. And to get the new guys to vote to divert some of that to pension, they're not thinking about 30 years from now. They're thinking about today and the new car they want to go home and buy. So
I get you.
So ultimately, that's the goal. And it's important to be able to have that UPS contract to look at. And when UPS covers almost any situation that could come up, and it's over hundreds of years of bargaining, right? Or however long they've been bargaining it. That's how you get into a contract like that, kind of like the master freight agreement, right? So, some of these contracts are new. They're only 5 years old. They're first, second contracts. So you want to try to get as much of that in there as you can so you could build on it and make it closer, right?
So, and we'll circle back to Gary. I don't want to lose that, but real quick, John, I don't think a lot of our members are maybe outside of UPS really know what 152nd language means for vacation time. Can you kind of just give us the gist of it?
So it's the difference between straight time, right? Vacation, and CVS had that. A lot of contracts had it, and some still do, to where it's very common in a Teamster contract, because we get paid pension, we get paid health and welfare, right? And oh, by the way, health and welfare isn't free. Right, I mean, it could be up the rate now is between $1,600 and $2,000 a month for every employee is what they're paying for you to enjoy your health and welfare. So when it comes to vacation, it's cheaper to pay guys to work a lot of overtime, which is a benefit to us. It gives us opportunity in a lot of these industries to write our own checks. Right, we could work. I mean, that's how we get ahead. We work overtime. That's how I got where I was at. That's how I bought my house. I worked a shit ton of overtime. And ultimately, now, if you're on straight time, well, look, a lot of us live beyond our means, right? So some guys are like, I can't afford to take vacation because I won't get any overtime that week, right?
Yeah.
So the 152nd is a game changer, to where all your compensated hours, however much money you made total last year, divide that by 52 or 50, depending on how your language is written. And that's what you make for every week that you take vacation. For a lot of people, that's a big difference.
Right. That is a huge difference.
It's a game changer.
And getting back to you, Gary, I know we kind of just want to circle back. You were saying that the language was one of the most important things for you as well. I remember the very first time I met Gary, and we started discussing some of the things that he had to do in order just to file a grievance. Just fucking blew me away, And now you being a shop steward and out on the floor and having the support from this local and being able to assert your rights, your steward rights, I'm sure has changed tremendously as well too.
Yeah, a lot. Basically, with you guys, I'm able to do my job as a steward. I don't want to toot my own horn, but at least for us at CVS, there's a working relationship between management and the stewards, and it's gotten to the point now where basically we're addressing issues on the floor where we don't even have to put paper on it.
Yep.
If we see a violation, we go up to the supervisor immediately, or if someone tells us, we'll go straight to them, and they're pretty good on correcting the issues, like right then and there. But yeah, I mean, the dynamics changed for sure. Like, just to touch up on what you said earlier when we first met is when I used to have to file grievances. It was horrible.
Yeah,
I don't want to get too crazy into the weeds with it, but it definitely was not a way that shop stewards should be conducting business. And I know other yards had the same issues that I had. But as far as that goes, like I said, I mean, the dynamic's definitely different. We're getting good contracts. The stewards are able to be on the floor doing their job as it should be. I mean, we don't need to have the business agent walking in every day just to correct issues. You know what I'm saying? It ultimately stems from the shop stewards. That's the first line of defense, I guess you would say. So, yeah, I mean, I enjoy being a steward. I mean, I love doing it. So
it's night and day. It sounds like.
Oh, it definitely is for sure.
No.
Well, thank you for what you do, because ultimately, I've always said it. The stewards work hard, and it's good to hear that. It's good to hear that. Yeah, now when I go in as a steward, I've obtained my respect from the company, and I'm listened to, and things are getting better. Look, nothing's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
You're always going to have those, frankly, asshole managers that are going to do everything they can to try to violate the contract or mess with somebody. But once you've redrawn the line, I guess we could say it like that, because ultimately, before Eric and I took over and won back in 2020, the line was here, right? And over a lot of fighting, a lot of arbitrations, a lot of going into barns and saying, hey, you can't do this stuff. Well, now the line's up here, right? And ultimately demanding the respect for the stewards, demanding the respect for the membership. And like I said, it's not going to be perfect. UPS, how many years has that been? And you guys just had to go down and set somebody straight not too long ago.
It's constant. It's constant with you guys.
Ultimately, when you get the majority of management on the page saying, hey, we need to work with you, not against you, it makes everything better for everybody,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely good. I mean, that's how it is at CVS. You know what I'm saying? I know it probably takes.
The other problem now is you're not getting a lot of overtime because everybody's going to work. Huh?
Yeah, everyone's showed up to work, and ever since the new contract, like I told you earlier, it was, sometimes I think the honeymoon phase is, it's starting to sunset a little bit, and people are like, oh, well, I mean, I got all this overtime, and I got this big old raise. I can afford to take 1 or 2 days off now. I mean, I kind of see it a little bit, but ever since we ratified our new contract, yeah, I mean, it's been great. And going back to the working with management, I just wish people that didn't work at CVS could see how CVS is at this point.
Yeah, because I remember back in 2019 when we were campaigning, the things that were said to me walking outside that building. When we'd be outside there, so
it was a dumpster fire for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's the best way to put it. And now it's how a union shop should be run, and that's the way. Growing up with my dad being a union man himself, it's the way I always envisioned it or pictured it. And CVS is literally a painting or a picture of what a union shop should look like. I mean, you have the stewards. I wouldn't say running the show, but, working with management, and there's a working relationship there, and things are getting done, and it's just moving forward. There's no cussing at each other anymore. I mean, you don't need to cuss anymore. I learned that. I kind of learned that the hard way. Speaking of which, James Lopez kind of put me in my spot on that one with a management meeting a couple years back, but I kind of learned my lesson on that one and took a loss for sure, but Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic.
Ultimately, when you're right, you're right. So don't take no for an answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you learn. I mean, there's time and place, and I think I could speak for John and myself. There's times we have to go in there and be a little bit more harsh with the verbiage sometimes, but it's not something that we want to do. It's not something we want to go out and portray to the stewards, and we tell them like, look, we want you to be able to have a good working relationships with the managers. But there could be a point in time you're gonna be behind closed doors and you're gonna have those words.
Oh yeah, I mean that still happens, for sure. But on the shop floor, it's pretty rare at CVS, especially on the warehouse floor, for sure.
And that's a good thing. I mean, I think it not having to be done speaks to the fact that management knows they have to work with you now. They know they have to work with the stewards. They know that they have an administration that's going to come in if need be because they're fucking around with our stewards and our membership. And that's one of the biggest things that I've seen change here. I've been around for a while, and we've kind of touched on it when Eric was here last time when the meetings were on Wednesday nights, and there'd be 20 people there, and half of it was the staff. And Eric had brought up a good point and said, if I wanted to keep things the same or hide things, why would I move it to a Saturday, which was something that you and Eric wanted to change and brought it to a Saturday.
Yeah, we talked about that from day one. I mean, day one that that was one of the issues that we brought up when we first met and decided to run together. And the majority of that was just because of the fact of what the difference could be in the local if your membership is involved and educated. How much better can your results be, right? Rather than keeping them in the dark and not having anybody involved. And we've seen it. We've seen it over the last 5.5, almost 6 years. That the results are there. Like Eric says all the time, the proof's in the pudding.
Yep.
The results are there. And, it's like, in the we're in political season, right?
Right.
And it's always there. Got to deal with it. I hate the politics of this. But ultimately it's there. But I would venture to say, just like the politics in part of the CVS contract that showed its ugly head, ultimately at the end of the day, unless you've been in there bargaining and understand all the rules of bargaining, you don't know what it's like. You don't know what the outcomes could be. You have to figure out how to get there and follow the rules while you're doing it. But what I will say, I would invite any member that wants to come down and take the contract prior to 2020 and this one that we just finished and compare them, and you tell me where we lost, right? Because ultimately at the end of the day, you compare the contract we just finished to the 2 contracts ago before we were in office, it's night and day, not even close. And it's like that with all our contracts, right? I mean, I could tell you, first student, before we took over, I think they were making $17 an hour, maybe $18 an hour. They're up to $37 an hour now.
Wow.
Now, they don't have the benefits that you have, but for them, that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking in 5.5 years, right? So, and it's like that with SciTech. They used to pay 30% of their medical. Right now, 30% paying none. Right?
Wow.
That's a huge difference. Huge difference. Not and you could pick out of all the contracts. I mean, there's so many. The one that we're doing a liquor contract right now. Well, we had on a first contract, and we had finally gotten to the economics. Ton of great language for a first contract. And we threw across wages to start that were at the liquor industry level.
Right.
The company completely freaked out, right? Like, what the hell? That's what these people make down here in Southern California? And, you know, we put it across as that's the industry standard. That's the price to get into the game here, right? And they turned around and sold the company.
Wow.
They were that scared of it that they sold the company. So now we're working with the new company to get them back to the table to get it done. But, you know, that's what it is being union. That's what it is to be able to stick together. So,
and that's the thing is that you could put the offer out, you extend the olive branch, you try to talk to people, and you tell them, hey, come on in, come down to the local. If you got your concerns, you know, I've heard you say it, I've heard Eric say it, come down. But unfortunately, we got a lot of people out there that'll sit here and watch this podcast or listen to things out on the internet and come to their own conclusion without doing their homework. You know, they won't actually take the time and investigate, ask questions, come to the local. They'll just right away go with what they think it is.
right. I think, and to your point, Sabas, I think what members in Local 952 in a political environment that we're in now is you got to do a couple things. One, you got to look at yourself and your own situation. Am I better off than I was 6 years ago, right? If not, what can anybody do to better it for me? But I think the majority, look, I'm confident that the majority of our members know how much better off they are than they were 6 years ago. And not because I believe it, it's because I'm out there and I talk to people and that's what they say, right? The ones that generally don't know how it works, or they're just listening to the BS that goes over across the internet,
Right.
and not taking it whether or not it's for truth, you know, and ultimately it's, you have to hold that ballot in your hand and you've got to mark something that's going to affect the next 3 years, going to affect who's going to negotiate your next contract, affect who's going to, you know, process the grievance meetings, arbitrations. We spend a lot of money on arbitrations, which is something that they didn't do prior to us coming in here. You know,
It was spun in a negative way.
that's what our money's for,
Right.
to represent the membership, right? And, you know, to address, because I know everybody, you know, on the other side's out there saying we're broke. We're not broke. Actually, I think in my last meeting, we have the most money that has been in the local since before we took over.
So you're
Close to $750,000 in our general fund.
So you're
Right,
you're telling me, John, that if we have one more strike, that we are not going to go bankrupt?
That's another member education issue that no local spends general fund money for a strike. Okay, it's some locals have strike funds, which we would try to set up, and I've seen all the BS on that.
That was all spun
Yeah.
in a whole different way.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, we're a nonprofit organization. Okay, the money that comes in has to be spent on the membership, right? And then you also have to protect your nonprofit status. So in the event that you start a strike fund, and by the way, that language that they're trying to throw out there came out of every other local's language that we got examples for strike funds that they already have. And the purpose for that language in some of the strike funds is because if you start building it up too much, you don't want to lose your nonprofit.
Right.
You've got to spend some of that money on the membership, right? But ultimately, it's there to protect you for a strike and add to what the IBT. Now, thank God that Fred Zuckerman and Sean O'Brien
Shout out to them
have
for
given
that.
us an enhanced strike benefit, right? And, you know, there's a lot of people that voted no on our strike fund that are way willing to accept that, the strike fund enhanced from the IBT.
Absolutely.
But that's what it's there for, right? We have the money in the IBT, and they have given that, and that's proof in the pudding. When a company knows they can't starve you out, you have a lot of leverage there, right? And that's how some of these contracts have been so good, because we have that. We have that to hold over their head,
Yeah.
you know?
And I said this on the last show, and I'll say it again. There was recently another podcast out there that that had all 3 slates on there. Members First, and the other 2. And I encourage all of you guys to go and listen to that and really think about where your vote's going to go, because to John and Eric's point, the proof is in the pudding. Things have changed here. Great contracts. I don't hear anybody out there saying anything about the contracts that you guys have put together here. It's all about the same stuff that we've dealt with in the past that have been addressed, about stewards being removed. That was all talked about and why things were done. To the vehicles, to, I mean, that it's the same thing, but I don't hear any other substance that has
even on
any
the vehicle
relevance.
side of it, because there's people on that side of the slate, which the head of that slate worked for the local.
Right.
And here's what I'll say, and even when it comes to like the money and stuff, you can go out and put something out there saying, oh yeah, I think they shouldn't drive trucks, they shouldn't do this. I mean, look, my personal belief, we use those trucks for a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
We had, how many members did we have at our company picnic? We do softball tournaments. We transport coolers. We bring the food. You know, ultimately, we have used the hell out of these trucks. Strike lines, strike signs, easy ups. You know, we transport members.
Our barbecues that we've
Barbecues that we take. You know, ultimately, that's us giving away. And by the way, if you look at every other local in Southern California, a lot of them have a lot nicer cars than we do, right? But, you know, that's just something to throw out there and mudsling and say, hey, ultimately, at the end of the day, the money is here to spend on the membership and take care of the membership, and that's what we do, right? But it's, you know, it's just that head of that slate, getting back to what I was thinking about, sits on our e-board.
to this day.
Okay, to this day. And ultimately, he has voted on buying every one of those vehicles. He has voted on any money that we have spent. He has voted on any decision that we have done since we took office in 2020. And he has never voted no.
And that's where a lot of our members are not even aware of. Like I said, I want to encourage all of you guys to go to that podcast, watch all 3 slates, and come to your own conclusion. And once the meetings get back, come October, show up to a meeting. You know, we encourage all of you guys, even if you were participating or supporting another slate, get to a meeting. Come to a meeting. I mean, we've been preaching that for a long time, one member at a time. I know I've been around for a little while. This January will be 27 years in this local, and I've seen the change. And I'm very, very confident, and I'm very proud of where we're at now compared to where we were. And is everything perfect? No, not everything's perfect. Is there more things I wish we could have got for the UPSers? Yes, I do. Is there more things that CVS wanted? Yes, of course. But we build up to that. And in 5 years, what I've seen this administration do and the amount of hours and the hard work that has come that I see from all the business agents, the stewards, collectively, I mean, I'm proud to be here in this administration. And I just want to thank you guys for that, because,
well, you know, Eric and I would like to thank the membership, because, you know, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here to do what we do, and we wouldn't have, you know, like, you know, Eric said it 100 times, 952 is a force to be reckoned with now. And when we go to events and we're recognized.
absolutely.
We're recognized at the IBT. We're recognized, you know, at UPS panels. We're very well represented, and it makes a difference, whether anybody wants to believe it or not. We're represented in the IBT and the organizing department. We have multiple members that have been hired by the IBT and Joint Council to organize. That speaks to the fact that now we are a force to be reckoned with. We're recognized for the work that we do, and our members are recognized for the work that we do, which has given them opportunities.
I'll share this real quick. It's a real quick story, but to that whole point you're talking about right now, one of the very first meetings that I went to was with Eric, and it was in another jurisdiction. Shout out to Victor. Who runs 396, but he took me to that meeting. Was very young into getting involved. And I'll never forget when I went to that meeting, I was in awe of the amount of people that were there and the support and everybody that was just involved, the stewards, the membership. It was packed. I mean, it was standing room only. And I remember turning around looking at Eric and telling him, fuck, is this what a meeting should be? And he was like, yeah, man, that's how they do it over here. And it was something that blew my mind coming from a Wednesday night and seeing no engagement, no involvement. And and so that has totally changed here. And I've seen it for myself, and I don't care what anybody says. That is the truth. That's the facts. So I mean, we could go on and on. George,
I want to add one more thing real quick, being that, it's kind of been put out there. And like you said, if you go back and listen to those podcasts.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the heads of the slate talking about how he's going to make things better. And oh, by the way, and I'm not going to quote him exactly, but he made mention of the fact that he didn't know anything about UPS.
Right.
And that's why he was going to have somebody there from UPS to be able to do that. What I will say is he had been in the local as long as I have, and what I can say is I do know about UPS. I do know about the panels, and I've been to the panels. Mm-hmm. And I've been to the panels because I wanted to learn. As a matter of fact, one of the first panels that I went to, and I'm not sure if you were there, Sabas, it was about the driver-facing cameras, and I ended up speaking to the whole group.
That was in Vegas, I believe.
That was in Vegas.
Yes, I was there.
And everybody, and I had other UPS business agents ask me, where in the hell are you from? And I'm like, grocery. But I know about them damn cameras.
I remember that.
And I had other UPS business agents come up and say, hey, I am so glad that you came and said what you said because we've needed somebody to say that, right? Mm-hmm. But my point being, not that made a difference in anything, but my point being is I've gone because I wanted to learn what the UPS panel system. If I'm negotiating contracts and I want to put in a panel system, what panel system better to look at than UPS and know how it works? Because we got a lot of members, right, that are UPS.
Yep.
And it makes a difference. And to my other point about that, Eric knows a shitload about grocery now.
Yeah.
Okay? He has been with me. He's been with me at EWS meetings. He's been with me to the drivers. He's been with me negotiating. And he's been with me in grievance meetings, and he's gone over the grocery contracts with us because he wants to learn them, right? The one person out there had that same opportunity. He could have gone to the panels with us. He could have been involved to learn, right? We have to get clearances to go into GCAN Aerospace.
Right.
But we go. Why do we go? Because we want to know what they do. We want to learn how it works. Because ultimately, the more everybody knows, the stronger you are. But you can't take the position that, I don't want to learn it. I'll just hire somebody that knows what it's about. That doesn't cut it, and that's not leadership. So I'll leave it at that. But, ultimately, at the end of the day, the last thing I could say is, look, everybody has to look at the facts, hold their ballot, and say what's going to make it better for me and my job and my family going forward.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Got anything, Gary?
I hate politics season. I mean,
I don't think anybody likes it.
yeah, I mean,
You just got to deal with it.
like Eric said, and on his deal that he had on the last podcast was the internet could be used for good and bad, right?
Yep.
At the end of the day, these guys have their opinions, and that's fine. They could say whatever they want. as far as me sitting in this chair right now, a lot of the shit that I've seen, it's either hilarious or it's just non-factual, right? So if anyone out there has issues, or I see all these issues getting put up on social media, right? But they're not coming down to the local to get the facts or showing up to the meetings. Anything that these guys put out, they can easily come down, talk to you, talk to Eric, and get all the facts. The way I see it is, yeah, I mean, I see it all out there, but I just ignore it. You know what I mean? I just let it ride. I let these guys talk. There's a famous Art of War quote. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretend inferiority and preaches arrogance. And to me, that's the way I'm seeing it right now. So I think I said that quote right.
I've never even heard that.
I think I did.
I've never heard it.
Pretend inferiority and preach his arrogance. So if anyone is confused of what I said, they can just go look it up.
Gotcha.
The most famous quote from Sun Tzu's The Art of War regarding feigned weakness is, "Pretend inferiority and encourage his arrogance." This strategy involves making yourself appear less capable or powerful than you are, fostering overconfidence and a sense of superiority in your adversary, which then makes them more likely to make mistakes and allows you to gain a strategic advantage.
George,
So that's my mentality. That's all I got to say.
For sure. I'll put that quote, the Sun Tzu's quote there from the Art of War.
George,
I know George knows about it.
George, you're pretty quiet over there today.
I mean, this whole episode is supposed to be. We're starting the Versus series right now, so this is your guys' first episode. Sabas and Gary versus John and George.
Yeah, it was. That's what it was supposed to be. I mean, maybe if we would have started a little bit earlier, we could have got there. But
Well, Sabas got fired up. You know, he's waiting. He's getting irritated. He hasn't eaten yet.
it reminds me of the first episode, George, of Hangry. I was already hangry.
Yeah, you were angry when you came in.
Yeah. But look, John, I appreciate you coming on. I know that you're going to continue to come on. I want to thank you. You've done a tremendous job in bargaining and as our president, and I appreciate you. And I think that's all we got. George, you got anything to say?
I mean, I didn't really prep anything for myself to say, so no.
No. I think we're going to fire John. We're going to fire John. If you guys want, go ahead and let us know if you want us to fire John. Leave a comment or call and leave a voicemail.
I guess I'm trying to figure out. Maybe I forgot to sign his paycheck.
Oh, maybe.
All right, George, why don't you close this out?
Yeah. Please like, share, subscribe. Put anything down in the comment section. All that will help the algorithm. You can follow us on Instagram, OCST952. Pay attention to that because we're going to start updating that a lot more frequently. And we do have a jacket giveaway coming up soon. So keep an eye out on that. Also, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us at ocst.000@gmail.com.
Thanks, George, and go Raiders.
Go Cowboys.